while she's trained, and they become goddesses. Well, they become muses. Let me pull up some pictures on my desktop again. Let's see, countdown. All right, so there they are. They become muses. There's Harley is the muse of, I think it was laughter, muse of happiness, muse of joy. We got this lovely picture of everyone as a muse. I think it was a very iconic picture at the time. It was in a lot of ads for DC. This is just a beautiful picture. I've seen some really nice cosplays of this too. Let me see if there was anything else in that folder. I think we covered all of that, which brings us to the next part of Harley. You see how we're going here? Let me look at the time. All right. So the next big step, I think, of Harley, when there was another big change, 2008. This is when the Dark Knight movie came out. So I'm gonna need some water. Oh, I forgot to do something too. For show and tell. Yay! So back to me. Anyway, I brought some cosplays out. I was like, what if I change into different cosplays as I change into the different Harleys? So during this time, we are still talking iconic Harley Quinn in the classic suit, the hat. We've got the suit I love, and the neck weight floppy thing. And those are all like very iconic, and the mask. So that's very like iconic Harley, you know, the classic Harley, really. And now is about when we're going to start talking about the transition between that and what people sort of like, how the first transition in Harley away from that sort of classic jester look. Which again, go to this timeline, try and move my timeline a little forward. The Dark Knight. So with the Dark Knight, kind of like how Batman Returns really shaped how Batman the Animated looked, Dark Knight really kind of changed how they wanted to have Harley look. And this was sort of a transition period. We've got, for video games, the Arkham Asylum game comes out the same time as Gotham Sirens. And if you go back to me for show and tell, we also have this book that came out past the Dark Knight movie. I'm gonna pull up some pictures again. So these I didn't put in any order, so they might be all meshed up again. But let's open her up. So Gotham Sirens and Gotham Sirens and Arkham Asylum. So open this backwards and see if I can arrow back. So this is what Harley looks like in that Joker comic. Again, she's still in the jester outfit, but they tried to make it really dark. Here she's like reverse stripping. Not a big fan. So Gotham Sirens. I think it's an iconic thought in everyone's mind. Like I said, they were hinting at this a little in Harley's Volume 1, her first comic series. And they're hinting at it in Gotham Girls, that the three of them get along together, they live together, they're gonna have this fun party house. Here's them meeting each other for the first time in the, well, not for the first time, deciding to live together for the first time in the comics. They're talking it out, realizing they're all on the same side. And now let's talk about this. So the Arkham Asylum game comes out. And wow, that really changed some things. A lot of people not so into it. Some people extremely into it. Started this sort of debate about, you know, what should Harley look like? Is she slutty now? Which I'm not gonna go there because, like, well, I'll go there a little in that you can't call an outfit slutty, guys. Like, a woman's gonna wear what she's gonna wear, and that does not mean that she's either asking for it or not. Like, we're not gonna go there. Is that more revealing than what Harley would typically wear? Yes, is Harley a doctor and not a nurse? Yeah. So it's a little insulting to her intelligence, honestly. And they're not changing anybody else up in this extreme way. For some reason, somebody out there was like, Harley's outfit is so dated. Who would wear this jester outfit? Like, I mean, that's the point. It's supposed to be like spooky clown. So someone decided it needed to be a sexy clown. At any rate, and these are some concept drawings about it. I mean, it's definitely not my favorite version of Harley, but this is the sort of the first step towards, I would say, Harley's dark ages, is how I would label it. I closed the whole dang thing. Look at me. I did want to show and tell something else, though. This artist, their name is Greg Horn, did this great picture of Harley. He calls it the stages of mourning, basically. Because this outfit was very controversial at the time, and a lot of people were upset because the Jester outfit's just so iconic. That's just like you think about Harley, it's like Jester, bam, it's very like I talked to a whole artist about how simple it is, the lines, and how it's really striking. And then to give it sort of the naughty nurse Halloween look was just very demeaning at the time. So this artist did this. But that was not where Harley's evolution sort of stopped. I do need to shrink Discord to reopen Harley panel folder. All right. It's like close things, sort of obsessively close things. Go back to the timeline. Yeah. Before I move on to the actual Dark Ages, I do want to show off a little more Gotham City Sirens, so I'm play a little more show and tell. These covers are so just beautiful and iconic. I don't know what to say. This is a very beautiful series, just art-wise. The art is the covers. Anyway, Arkham Madness comes out next. This book I really appreciate as someone who used to work in mental health, because it starts to get into what hell the just being nursing staff is, and just how they're understaffing and overworking to this is how our not to get too political, but this is how our hospital system works in the United States, is that any private hospital will do whatever they can to cut costs on staffing in order to maximize their profits, especially UHS hospitals. At any rate, this shows that very well. It shows what kind of stress that puts on the staff, because this is all from the point of view of one of the nurses there, who has to like work more shifts because somebody canceled, and then everybody's stressed out, and how it's very dangerous. I mean, obviously it's like an extreme because it's a comic book, but I think it's a good job. Let's look at this Harley here. This is where we first see the red and black hair. I don't know that, I think this might be the first version of it. I don't think anything else predates that. At any rate, tell them my dramatic pause. We're going to move on to the next part of Harley, being the Dark Ages, which I like to call New 52. New 52. I'm going to show you a shirt that I bought at New York Comic Con at the time. Back to show and tell. I've used it in some cosplays here. New 52 sucks. The shirts that they had, that they were selling at New York Comic Con when that first came out, it was so bad. Let me show you the many ways in which this was really bad. I'll start with this image of Harley that suddenly started coming out on posters and things. This is while Gotham City Sirens was still like being sold. They were like, hey, we're gonna have this next new thing, you guys. Isn't it cool? Look how modern she looks. modern? That's modern. Are you sure? Oh, who came up with this? Oh, Jim Lee. Is this a modern image out of Jim Lee? Let's think about that. Oh no, he did Wildcat. Oh, is it all like naked booby women who like are turned in these like weird ways and their outfits don't really make sense to anything they're doing or anything that's ever been? Is that modern? All right, I think you can tell that like this is bad. This is so bad, you guys. This is the Dark Ages. This is so bad. The outfit's bad. The writing's bad. Everything in New 52, and we did an entire panel on it at the time, so I have a lot of images to show you. Oh, God. They redo Harley's origin. I will say this is where they start the origin of her being thrown into the Joker juice to give her superpowers rather than having Ivy give her superpowers. Or in the animated, she didn't have any superpowers. She's just a person who can do gymnastics, which is in Arkham Asylum, they keep that theme. You know, although they changed her outfit to the naughty nurse, like she goes to fight Batman in her first fight, Batman grabs her, like she tries to do a jump kick, Batman grabs her, throws her down. Hey, that's the end of the fight. God, New 52. Let's go on to some slides. Arkham City, a New 52. Oh boy, you guys, I'm looking at this folder. So I'm gonna pull up this picture of New 52 Harley. Look at it again, because I don't know what you saw from my comic. Oh, you guys, this outfit. She's a Dr. Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror. This is not modern. This is like the most backwards 90s thing that you could ever put on a lady. This is, I mean, but what are we expecting from Jim Lee and basically Rob Liefeld? I mean, he's not involved in it actually, but like, I'm telling you, Wildcats, and this is 2011. I'm looking at. So at the same time, we got the Arkham City game. Again, we're at least in Arkham City. If we're looking at me instead of my screen. So Arkham City, this is the preview for it. So this is a lot of images of Harley. Got this magazine from my friend at the time, and it let me make this outfit before this came out, which gave me. So this is like I'm getting into story time. Oh no! I got this cool special edition of the game. So again, while the outfit in it isn't that great, and we lose Arlene Sorkin as the voice actress, it's supposed to be this like dark continuation of the Batman the Animated Time series, like timeline. I mean, Harley plays a big old part in that game, and I think it's pretty interesting. She's got basically taking over for the Joker in that. So that at least, I mean, yeah, she's in that outfit, but I mean, look what they put her in the comics at the time, which is ugly. So at the time it was like, well, who's Harley? You're gonna like lean towards Arkham City as being who Harley is. And I think a lot of people cosplay Arkham City Harley because for a period of time that was the Harley, because ain't nobody wearing this thing. Oh God. Same time I get this T-shirt, by the way, and that nice print of the Arkham nurse. I did something really funny, and I think that it's worth mentioning. So let me pull up me. And we're going back to me. I made my own comic because that one was so bad. It's about Harley reading the comic of herself. Anyway, I made this, and then we pulled a caper. So we went to New York Comic Con, and they had just, announced all this New 52 stuff, and I had had the time to read a bit of those comics. And so I made this comic. This is like the following year after they like had announced it all. And I was handing this out for free. So snuck in there. I had like the Groucho Marx glasses on, a trench coat. And so we go into the middle of the con. a quick change out of that into like a Newsies. I had the Newsies hat and vest. Extra, extra, read all about it. Fake Harley Quinn being Harley Quinn. Look at the real Harley Quinn reacting to the fake Harley Quinn. And in it, I made this crazy, weird version of Harley who had basically not, like, she's throwing herself at Deadshot. Why? But you gotta understand that all the ladies in New 52 are throwing themselves at men. It was this like weird incel fantasy series. Like it it blows my mind that it was ever published, really. Yeah, but so I was handing those out for free. Good times. I pull capers. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, I'm gonna pull up these pictures. Why, you guys? Why that? Um, so let's go a little into the New 52 controversy. I feel like it's an important thing to start picking up. Again, why Deadshot? Ugh. And look what they put her in. Ugh. Why? It's like looks like hee haw. I just and I've seen people cosplay that, and all right, do what you're gonna do. A lot of people again at the time. Look at this. And again, I'm not calling anybody a whore. Just because you're dressing like that does not mean that you are asking for it. But I mean, she's like it's very judgmental, to call somebody that. I don't really believe in that, but it's true. Like, look, the haunted zipper, the shrinking costume, all these things. Like, see, do I have a picture of Starfire? Yeah, here we go. Starfire was a big old problem in this. Just characters, ladies taking their clothes off. Catwoman in her first issue, you didn't see her face for like the first few panels. It was all boobs and her getting into her costume. Just gross stuff. And another big thing, of course, being the Hawkeye Initiative, which starts at this time. I think a lot of people are familiar. If you look at this picture of Catwoman, you guys, take it a minute. It's the Dark Ages. I gotta. So, I am someone out there. I forget who, and I should probably look up who started this. But they point out, oh, why? Can you see both her front side and her back side at the same time? Who can be in such a position? Why her chest and her butt at the same moment? And they decided, hey, that looks okay with Catwoman, does it? Well, what if it's Hawkeye? Does it look okay on Hawkeye? And we get the Hawkeye Initiative, where when they put ladies in these ridiculous poses, like look at Wonder Woman here, chest and butt, same picture, because spines, don't mean anything. You gotta draw Hawkeye like that. I mean, it's the only reaction, just Hawkeye. I think you could see Amanda Waller in another picture that I brought up just now. And this is another big problem with New 52. They decided women have one body type. They decided women have one age. You are no longer like a middle-aged sassy woman who can get things done. You're not allowed to have that body fat on you. No, you need to be thin as a rail, and you need to be young, or you're just, not worth printing, not worth showing. We need to sex it up, have some boobies in there. And this was the problem with New 52. Am I just making a bunch of windows? Oh, I am. Hey guys, I gotta close some stuff. I don't want to bog this down. Sorry as I do some maintenance here. Because I'm just opening things, which might be the better way to do it. But, so, let me look at the timeline just so I'm not going back and forth too much. Yes. So, New 52, terrible, terrible, terrible. This is when they kind of get like a little, what should Harley look like? We don't like this jester uniform. It's so outdated. We can't possibly. So we need to update this outfit. It's got to be something else. And like Amikami, it's still we're still grabbing the Jester, which I think is pretty fun. I like this version. I think it's super clowny and great. They also make the action figures, the Bombshell out ones, at the same time. And I mean, I get that the aesthetic's supposed to be 1940s sexy. This does not read as 40s to me. It reads more as like, I don't know, 60s or 70s. They like the underwear style isn't really 1940s. I think that they did this because they like having Harley with just a bra. I mean, put her in less and less clothes. Oh yeah, DC Online. Let me see where that is on the timeline. So like I said, there's still some give and take. So let's see in DC Universe Online. Oh, Indie Crisis. I know I put it in here. Sorry, Zai. Maybe it's not even for a while. Maybe I accidentally deleted it off my timeline. Looks like. So I'll put that back in my timeline later. Yeah, so DC Universe Online. We get this nice version of Harley. Like I said, there's a little bit give and take. We get this cool version of Harley in this sort of like apocalyptic world where Superman's the bad guy. So we still have some classic Harley stuff like seeping in during this Dark Age, but oh, things are about to get so much worse. All right, so Injustice. Ooh, boy, you guys, we thought New 52 Harley and Suicide Squad was ugly. But wait, did you see Injustice Harley Quinn? From the makers of Mortal Kombat, we have the DC fighting game where everyone looks the same except for Harley Quinn, who needs to be crossed with Katana. Her entire front of her outfit's open. How you fight like that, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's like the it's that less clothing is more armor thing out of the like video games, like World of Warcraft and stuff. I mean, really, this so ugly. I some people cosplay it, so I'm not saying on there, but the design of this ugly, ugly, ugly. And I gotta show you guys this action figure. It's the worst. This is so bad. Look at that. Oh god, you guys. You guys. You guys. Come on. God. Ugly. And they're handing these action figures to kids? Like, ooh, okay, topless lady. Here you go. Have fun, kids. Oh boy. Oh, oh Lord. Oh, ding dong, that's ugly. They did later make the Insurgents version of Injustice. It's better. I mean, they're still doing the underpants are up over the hips, but they that's Arkham City does that. Arkham Asylum does that. Um, this is at least, hey, look at that. She put some pants on. I mean, still exposing as many internal organs as possible, like this outfit, but this outfit isn't in a fighting game. This outfit's like on the beach, so let's not get into the bare bellies, but that outfit is at least, a little bit better. I didn't bring up the Harley's Revenge comes out a little bit after Arkham City. It's when she's mourning the Joker. This outfit's pretty fun. I like this. It's a good mourning outfit. It's a lot better than the new 52 one where she's in that dress in the graveyard with Death in the Family and all that. Death of the Family. Come on, you guys. Come on. Like, let's just take every past bit of good Batman history and just revamp, like, just pull out the story again. Marvel does it too, you guys. All right, so this brings us to the next part. The controversy before Harley Quinn Volume 2 came out. I'm gonna make sure I'm not skipping anything. And it looks like I'm not. So yes, let's get into more of the Dark Ages and the controversy. So before Harley Quinn Volume 2 came out, they started a contest. It's draw New 52 Harley Quinn for this new comic, naked and killing herself in a bathtub. Boy, whose good decision was that? Draw somebody naked. So sexualize suicide, please, so that you can get a job at DC Comics. So it's like a final straw for a lot of people. I mean, it just how this was your marketing decision. DC's done some really bad marketing things, and this made all sorts of news at the time. Let's see this last shot of this. Yep, suicide prevention groups speak out on this contest. And I think a lot of people like at DC brushed it off at the time, like, you guys are getting just such libtards getting like so upset about everything. It's like, nah, dude, just like have some class, have some. You don't need to go there. Like, you don't need to draw a sexy lady killing herself. Like, it just like think about what you're putting out there a little bit, you know. But moving on. Harley Quinn, Volume 2. Oh, I got a funny thing. Let's look at me for a second. Hey, I'm looking at me. Yeah. Pretty silly. Anyway, Harley Quinn, a Volume 1. So Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti. I personally feel like this comic started out kind of weak. They were still using not this fun kind of roller derby outfit, which is a little like I like this outfit because when it is 80 degrees, much like it is in my house, it's a nice outfit to have that is not fully covering oneself. It's nice. I just looked down and I realized that I brought a bunch of outfits out here. It's gonna not get to it. I have like my Arkham City stuff here. I have a lot of fun stuff, but I'm just gonna not get to it. Back on track to this. So I think it started out kind of weak. They were trying to figure out what this character was. And they eventually did figure out this character. They eventually do figure out this character, I should say. They figured her out to be Tank Girl. I've read a lot of Tank Girl. I've read a lot of Harley Quinn. She's Tank Girl. She's Tank Girl now. I don't know what to tell you. That is the and that version of Harley, like I said, like it was still evolving at the time. The New 52. I don't know if you've read any Tank Girl, but like she's like irreverent. She's punk. She's bisexual. She's which getting into that a little more later too. That version of Harley, they Harley and Ivy, they're a couple. There were inklings of it in a couple other places, and like I said, I'm going to get into the LGBT aspects a little towards the end of this. But yeah, Tank Girl, Tank Girl. I don't know what to tell you. Harley's Tank Girl now. They did a lot of cool things with this comic though. Like even though they had to kind of figure it out at first, especially like the Harley Ivy relationship. They were, sort of figuring out Harley and how fun she should be, what she should do. Harley changes her outfit in this comic, like not this particular. I mean, in this particular comic, she does change her outfit, but she changes her outfit like all the time. I can't post every picture of Harley in a different outfit from that comic. This is part of why I have over 30 cosplays of Harley, because a lot of them, I mean, if I'm going to start counting each and every cosplay as a cosplay from that comic, I'm going to have over 40 versions of Harley, honestly, because just, she'll put on a different shirt and have different pants, and I have a lot of those shirts because it's fun to wear those shirts. That's like her in a swimsuit. She's on the swimsuit a lot because she lives in Coney Island. Another thing about this comic is that it seems to be in its own universe. It's not. So when people call this New 52 Harley, I pause and I say, well, it isn't really, because this version of Harley although it began in New 52, is still going on today. So, we're past rebirth at this point. This story is still going. She's not New 52. She just happened to start at the same time. When I say New 52, Harley, we're talking this. Because they don't act similar in any way, shape, or form. They even stopped that New 52 comic. They brought it in again. There's like two Suicide Squads for like New 52, which I don't even know which volumes there are because Suicide Squad was New 52. They had a few volumes. So they're not the same, but that character does evolve into something very interesting and something that a lot of people have latched onto. And I think that it's a good transition away from you have this like Arkham City being sort of the icon because no one really liked New 50
Massachusetts Renaissance Fair. I'm Tal Good, and I'm really excited to be here. I would not say I'm the ultimate authority on fairies or folklore, but it is something I've always been interested in since my sister and I got really into it when we were kids, watching The Labyrinth and all of the Dark Crystal and all the fun movies that incorporate a lot of fairies and folklore into them. Today we're going to be discussing a lot of things. We're going to be going into some history and mythology. And then when some people hear fairies, they think, ooh, fun thing for little kids. This might be a little dry for some of the younger kids, but I am going to keep it family friendly, which, believe it or not, is really difficult when you're actually talking about fairies and the history behind them. So I hope that some of you will stick around and we can have some Q&A at the end of this. I do have some books I want to show you, but otherwise I'm just going to be showing PowerPoint and talking. Hopefully that's Hi everyone. Welcome to my first ever panel. It is fairy folklore in the Massachusetts Renaissance Fair. I'm Tal Good, and I'm really excited to be here. I would not say I'm the ultimate authority on fairies or folklore, but it is something I've always been interested in since my sister and I got really into it when we were kids, watching The Labyrinth and all of the Dark Crystal and all the fun movies that incorporate a lot of fairies and folklore into them. Today we're going to be discussing a lot of things. We're going to be going into some history and mythology. And then when some people hear fairies, they think, ooh, fun thing for little kids. This might be a little dry for some of the younger kids, but I am going to keep it family friendly, which, believe it or not, is really difficult when you're actually talking about fairies and the history behind them. So I hope that some of you will stick around and we can have some Q&A at the end of this. I do have some books I want to show you at the end of this, but otherwise I'm just going to be showing PowerPoint and talking. Hopefully that's not too dry for you. If you're interested in the subject, you might find the PowerPoint kind of neat. I hope. Please go easy on me. All right, so we're going to jump in. So I figured I'd start this off by explaining who I am. I am the entertainment coordinator for the Massachusetts Renaissance Fair, which means that I actually hire all the outside performances like jugglers and musicians and all the fun things that you go and see at the fair. I try to make sure there's fun activities for people to do. I schedule everything. I actually also play in a group called Below the Gaff, which you heard the music earlier. I play upright bass and we dress up as pirates and we have lots of fun. I have a master's in English with a writing specialization. My master's thesis was on fairy folklore. My undergraduate thesis was on pirates, specifically Grace O'Malley, the Pirate Queen. I have written a young adult fantasy novel called Fairy Blood, Song of the Lark, which you can find on Amazon or you can find it at imminentbanterpublishing.com. And I also have More for All Ages, Land of the Ever Young, a comic series which is also on Imminent Banter Publishing. My sister and I got into fairies and folklore when we were very young from watching a lot of really awesome movies like The Labyrinth and Dark Crystal, which I will talk about in a little bit. If you have done some of your own research, you would have heard of some of these people. If you would like to do more of your own research, then I figured I would throw in some sources that you could look up and enjoy reading about. The first one is William Butler Yeats. A lot of people would know him as a very famous poet from Ireland. He also collected Irish folk tales, and I will be showing you some of these books at the end so you get to see what they look like if you want to order them. Next is Lady Francesca Speranza Wilde. Yes, crazy name. She had a lot of aliases because it was difficult for women to get published back then. She happened to be Oscar Wilde's mom. Oscar Wilde, who wrote A Picture of Dorian Gray, among other things, and was famous for being arrested for being gay and being a proponent for gay rights. His mom also was a proponent for gay rights, which is really awesome. She went around and collected a bunch of Irish folktales and fairy folktales and put them in a book, which makes it great for us because then we can read them. Next, you can see the picture down on the bottom right. That would be me and my sister with Brian and Wendy Froud. We were super excited to meet them. We got to go to New York and hang out with them when the Troll book came out, which I will show you the Troll book at the end. The two of them have written a bunch of books. Brian Froud illustrates them with really amazing artwork, and Wendy does a lot of the research into the folklore behind it. They also made Labyrinth and Dark Crystal. Well, we could go on and on and on, but maybe I'll talk about them later. Next, very important, is Catherine Briggs. She probably had the biggest influence on me, and I think most others who write about fairy folklore. She was the head of the Folklore Society for a very long time before she passed away. She is an expert or authority. She's probably the authority on fairy folklore, especially from Ireland. And unfortunately, her books are very expensive. Most of them are several $100s. If you want her whole collection, it's $800. I don't own them. I have the one. There is one on Amazon that is only $20 for some reason, or around there. So I will show you that one because I would definitely suggest getting the one book that is not crazy expensive. Now, a lot of people get confused by the different ways that fairy is spelled. It can be spelled with an I or an E or an IE, and it could be called fae or fae folk or fair folk. Any of those are correct. Fairies come from all over. They're from different places. They can be from different languages, and I don't see why people make a big deal out of the spelling. It doesn't matter. We understand what it means. The common misconception about fairies is that they're little tiny things, little pixies with wings, that they only come from Ireland or England. And I think that probably came from the popularity of Peter Pan's Tinkerbell. A lot of people just see fairies as Tinkerbell, and though she is very famous, that's not what fairies are. Fairies are all different kinds of creatures, not just little tiny pixies with wings. Up here, the picture is another book that you can order if you play music. It is the She Jam that we play at the Market of the Moons. It is a bunch of easy tunes that you can find at Imminent Banter Publishing, or you can buy it at our fair. It's a nice book that my dad actually put together. So, what are fairies? Fairies are mystical spirits. They're magical creatures. They're from all over the world. They're not just from one place. And where did they come from, though? Fairies are basically just somebody wanted to explain the unknown. They didn't have science. A lot of people had terrible things happening to them, and they needed some sort of explanation. An example would be if one person, all their cattle died all of a sudden. They didn't understand that there were diseases that could be picked up. They didn't know where they were coming from, so they needed an explanation, and they made up a creature called a puka. Now, puka can change into different kinds of animals. A lot of the times it would be goats or cats, but also horses, and so when somebody's animals all started dying, they would decide that it was a puka that came in and made them all sick, and then they all passed away because the puka was obviously evil. Now, that's why a lot of fairies are sort of malevolent or evil. It's because they're explaining problems or things that happened that people couldn't figure out why they happened. Now, why am I getting into all this? Well, all of this has influenced my writing for the acts that go on at the festival, but also I want to sort of enlighten people to the history and to the mythology behind all these creatures. So next I'm going to actually talk about some of the different creatures that exist that are fairies, that people might be surprised are fairies, and that way you might know a little bit more about where the writing is coming from and where the creatures are coming from that you will be meeting at the festival. I started my research on fairies in Ireland. That's not to say that Ireland is the only place where there are fairies, but there are a bunch of different types of fairies in Ireland, so I wanted to just talk about a few of them. There are way more than I could possibly list, but here's some of the fun ones. We have leprechauns. Leprechauns people think of with St. Paddy's Day, little tiny creatures that have pots of gold at the end of a rainbow. Next, there's banshees. Banshees are sort of wailing spirits that can prophesize somebody's death coming. It's kind of interesting where they may have came from. They think that banshees came from when someone would die and they didn't have any relatives, that women would actually be hired to cry at the person's grave. Well, since no one knew who these women were, it started to come around and people started to say, wait a second, I think those are spirits that are grieving over the dead, which is kind of cool. Next, you see the Dullahan here, which is probably familiar to you from Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman. Dullahan is basically a creature that holds his head in his hand and rides a horse and throws it at you, and if you are hit with it, it feels like cottage cheese when it hits you for some reason, and it is supposed to say that you are going to die soon. Next we have the Cat Sith. This is one of my favorites. Pretty much every culture all around the world seems to have some sort of dark, foreboding black cat that is malicious and tells you of some doom coming. I have black cats and I think they're adorable and wonderful, and I don't think they have anything to do with doom or prophesizing or evil, but it just seems to be a common theme throughout the world. Next, pukas, we talked a little bit about. Pukas can turn into different animals. Oddly enough, or interestingly enough, there is a pagan ritual that people might still do where they burn effigies, tend to be wooden effigies of animals, which is to ward off the pukas to keep your animals safe. Unfortunately, many years ago they used to actually burn real animals inside the effigies, which is very sad. Next we have selkies. As you can see, they kind of look like mermaids, but they're more seal-ish. A lot of the water fairies tend to drag people under into the water and drown them. That was a way of people, again, to explain why people were drowning. Changelings, a lot of people know changelings. Changelings are basically, if your baby's acting mean or upset, it's probably because it was switched with a fairy and your baby is elsewhere. Now, the next slide, I just wanted to show all of the citations of where I got those pictures. I do not own those pictures. They are somebody else's work, so you can find them and tell them that you like their work. I did not draw any of those. On to other countries with fairies, we have Germany. In Germany, you have elves, dwarves, kobolds, and the Erlking. Some of you might be saying, wait a second, elves and dwarves? Those aren't fairies. Well, they are. They're fairy folklore from Germany. The Erlking's a really interesting character shown here. You can see him in a bunch of other literature, one of which is Jim Butcher's Dresden Files. If you like fairy folklore, you should definitely read those. They're really fun books. There's a lot of them, and the writing is great. Alright, so another country, Scotland, or also England, they have goblins, redcaps, brownies, gnomes. Right here's a little brownie doing some chores. Brownies will clean your house and do nice things for you if you are good to them, if you leave some milk and honey outside for them, or if you leave it where you think they are, as long as you don't look at them. Redcaps, more malicious. They tend to guard keeps. They dye their hats in the blood of those that they have killed. Goblins, we all know, kind of malicious little creatures, and gnomes. I'm sure you've seen, like David the gnome, and people put them on their lawns, little lawn gnomes. They're derived from that. Next, we have Norway and Sweden, where you would have trolls, some of my favorite. We have trolls at our fairy festival. We have had a troll that woke up when he was supposed to be asleep and sort of went around causing havoc and mischief until the fairies were able to help get him to go to sleep. We also have Nice. We're going to have one this year, one of our new fairies. Nice, you've probably seen, they kind of look like Santa Claus. They come from Sweden, and people like to put them out on their decks or out places during winter time, because Nice will bring them little presents. France, we have Red Dwarf. If you've ever seen the show, I don't think it has anything to do with it. White Lady, Luton, Tarrasques. If you happen to be a Dungeons & Dragons fan, you've definitely heard of the Tarrasque, which is a little bit different in Dungeons & Dragons. It's this unstoppable giant beast, not so much in fairy folklore, but it is a beast. Will-o-wisps are pretty interesting. Will-o-wisps are in a lot of different cultures. They are these little creatures that resemble lights, and when people follow them, they are bringing them out to marshes and to swamps to, unfortunately, do bad things to people, as opposed to bringing them out to where they want to go, and people would follow them thinking they were the lights of a city or someone that was trying to help them. Very unfortunate. Next, I want to go all the way to Japan, where you will see yokai. Those are the spirits that are basically like fairies in Japan. They are all different types of creatures, just like all the different ones that we are seeing in all these other countries. You have Oni, which I have a picture here. We are going to have an Oni at our fair. Onis have horns and sharp teeth, and they tend to defend places. They're big and strong and kind of scary. Kitsunes, fox spirits, I would love to have one of those at the festival. They tend to be tricky and have multiple tails. Tengu, you have the crow creatures, kappa, turtle creatures, and Tanuki, which I think a lot of you might know from Mario, the Tanuki tail. Next, we have Native American. I think it's pretty important to talk about Native American spirits and creatures. It's hard to find a lot of the folklore on Native Americans because they haven't written all of it down, but there's some which is really interesting. There's the Pukwudgies, which there's a picture here with the spikes, and they also defend the woods. They're little creatures. The Thunderbirds and Wendigos, you might recognize some of these names from the new Harry Potter houses, because the Harry Potter houses are in Massachusetts, and these characters, or the creatures rather, come from Native American folklore from Massachusetts. It's nice to have it from where we live. Next, Russia, Poland, Lithuania. The Leshy, which is pictured here, is sort of a forest spirit. It guards forests. It looks like it's small until you get close to it, and then you realize they're large, and they're very territorial, obviously. The Bannock, and of course the Baba Yaga. Everybody loves Baba Yaga. She's a witch, or she's a fairy. She has a house with little chicken legs that runs around. So many stories about the Baba Yaga. The Baba Yaga is always doing evil things, sort of like the boogeyman in different countries. She's all throughout Europe. Very interesting character. Now, the list goes on and on. I didn't actually talk about every single one of those in depth. There's so many different types of fairies. I just wanted to show everyone that there's all these different types of creatures, that there's so much mythology that we can pull from to bring into our fair, and I'm slowly sort of bringing a lot of these creatures into the fair and showing people that there is a lot of different things going on, that it's not just little pixies with wings. Now I wanted to get into a little bit of what my actual thesis was about, just because I think it's interesting, and again, it's where my background is coming from in writing some of these stories that you will be seeing different fairies performing at the Massachusetts Renaissance Fair. Well, for starters, fairies, all of the different creatures are a sort of a conglomerate of different stories from all over the world. everyone borrows from everyone. Fairies do not just come from one place, and these stories have been mixed and changed. And what I was really interested in is the mythology and how a lot of it ends up being about the land of the dead. So you can see that in a lot of different things, but one way that you can see it is in Chaucer's. If you've ever read any of Chaucer, he has some different stories, and one of which is The Knight's Tale. In The Knight's Tale, he calls Hades and Persephone, which you would know as the god and goddess of the underworld, he calls them the king and queen of fairy. Kind of interesting, a little bit of crossover there. Now, also in November Eve, which is a very popular fairy story, you can see that the fairies bring back ghosts. They bring back the dead to end up seeing their family members and things like that, and you have to watch out for it too, and you shouldn't sleep outside on November Eve. Well, that's actually in Catherine Briggs' book, if you end up getting it. November Eve is Halloween, so some interesting crossovers there. Now, the biggest one that I wanted to talk about was in two different stories that are actually the same story. The Celts have a story called King Orfeo, which you may have heard King Orpheus, which is very similar name, but King Orpheus you've probably heard plays and operas and all the different things that people have written about it. In King Orfeo, a man's wife falls asleep outside and she's kidnapped by the fairies. He plays some music for the fairies to allow them entrance to their world, and then he is told when he gets there not to eat or drink anything or he'll be stuck there forever. Well, same thing happens in King Orpheus, if you know that story. His wife falls asleep outside. She gets taken by the god of the underworld. He plays music to gain access to the underworld, and then he's told not to eat or drink anything or be stuck there. Well, fairy folklore is all about things that have happened in this mythology. You don't want to eat or drink any food in the fairy world, or you would get stuck there. Don't fall asleep outside. Well, the god Hades was the god of death and sleep, because the Greeks thought that they were pretty much the same thing, that when you fell asleep it was like being dead. Well, don't fall asleep outside. It's fair game for the fairies, also for the underworld apparently. Music plays such a big role in fairy stories. It's hard to say where this came from. It could have been that the Greeks borrowed stories from the Celts or vice versa, but probably a mix of the two. Music entices fairies. Fairies will generally get into a contest with you. If you challenge them to a music contest, they will come out and listen to your music. Now the fun one, can you think about a fiddle contest that was a very important one? Well, there's so many stories about the devil and the magical fiddle contest for someone's soul. That is straight up a fairy folk story. That story about the devil is taken from fairy folklore. So it's kind of interesting how all of these different stories mingle together and sort of become new creations, but also take from one another. Another interesting thing is fairies have an allergy to iron, they always say. They think that actually came from jinn or genies, another thing that gets borrowed from other cultures. Hopefully you have bared with us up to this point, because now I'm getting to how this relates to our fair. Well, here is the character of Puck. Puck now we say is a satyr. I will get into that a little bit. But here you can see 4 different Pucks that we've had. I unfortunately call it the curse of the Puck. We have had a different person play Puck every single year. Something happens and we end up with a new one. It's pretty crazy. I mean, a lot of our actors and actresses, they like to keep the roles that they have and they come back year after year. But Puck is the curse of the Puck. I even didn't write Puck into one of the stories just because I didn't want to have to see another one leave. Alright, so Puck comes from Midsummer Night's Dream. I'm sure a lot of you know that, by William Shakespeare. The character that I'm using comes from that. Now, like I said, everyone takes from everyone. That's where a lot of these stories come from, but the problem is Disney. Why am I saying this? Well, copyright. There didn't used to be copyright. Shakespeare was able to take from all these other stories and add them into his stories and make these really rich, really great tales that people could read and that would live on through the ages. Unfortunately, Disney wanted to keep all their characters. They didn't want anyone else using them, so they made copyright last 100 years, and no one can use anything from Disney without being sued. I think it's stupid. I understand that they want to make money, but I think they've made enough and they can relax a little bit. Like how we can't use Tinkerbell because Disney has copyright on that. But we have a workaround, which I'll tell you about in a little bit. So the mythology for Puck derived from satyrs and Pan, which is Greek mythology. Now, what is a satyr? A satyr, or some people say satyr, is a male nature spirit with the ears and tail of a horse, not a goat. So it's a little weird. Unfortunately, I couldn't put any pictures up because the pictures of them are R-rated. They are not family-friendly pictures of these creatures. When you go into Greek mythology, they seduce nymphs, and you can kind of use your imagination there. They're companions to Dionysus, the god of wine and theater, and of course fertility. They love music, dancing, wine, and women, which you will see in our Puck. Our Puck definitely loves music and dancing and drinking. So how are satyrs different from Pan? Well, Pan is the god of the wilds, mountains, shepherds, music. Pan has goat-like features, which Puck does. Legs of the goat, horns of a goat, not a horse. Pan plays the pan flute. Who plays that instrument? Oh yeah, Puck does. And unfortunately, there's kind of a messed up history behind the pan flute in Greek mythology. There was a nymph who thought that Pan wanted to be with her. She didn't want to be with him. She ran away, and her sisters turned her into a reed. And so Pan didn't want her to get away. He went and found all the reeds. He wasn't sure which one was her. He cut all of them, turned them into a flute, so he was walking around with her all the time, which is kind of upsetting. Now, Marv's Puck is not that dark. We are more family friendly, especially during the day. We have 2 different courts that have been in most of our different festivals that we've run, but there's actually 4 of them, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But Puck is part of the summer court, obviously. Puck loves music and carries the panpipes, but definitely not the panpipes that were made of a person, probably just reeds that Puck made. Puck likes to play pranks on people and tends to be mischievous. Our Puck has been a villain on multiple occasions and will continue to be, but more in a lighthearted sense. And some of the other characters and creatures at the festival tend to help Puck out when Puck's in trouble, and they have more of a sympathetic sort of ear towards Puck when Puck needs help. Now I wanted to talk about our sort of mythology in our own festival. Well, at our fair, we have the fairy courts, and there are 4 of them, for each of the seasons. What's really funny is that when I was writing my book many years ago, I thought I was being so clever, making the different seasons, the different courts, and having all these different fairies from mythology being kings and queens of the different courts, and then here comes White Wolf Changelings, a newer edition, and they do the exact same thing. So I guess it wasn't really that novel of an idea. If you're into fairies, White Wolf Changeling is really fun and has a lot of different mythology behind it. Also, the Dresden Files that I mentioned, he decided to make winter and summer 2 different courts that were sort of fighting each other, and a lot of other people have done similar things. I think Holly Black did that too, with 2 different courts that were summer and winter, with Queen Titania as one of them and Mab as the other, and made one of them Seelie and one of them Unseelie. Well, I don't do Seelie and Unseelie. If you're not familiar with those terms, Seelie tend to be the sort of good fairies that do bright, happy things, but they also had some sort of darker things that they would tend to do to humans, and the Unseelie would be the openly dark court, but might also do nice things. So the ideas of those are very nuanced, and I think that it would be confusing for a lot of people, so I don't even involve them in the festival. I don't think we really need them. But if people ask, I would say probably the winter court would be on Seelie and the summer court would be Seelie. Now, the two main courts that we have focused on, because our festival is in the summer, is the summer and winter court, and sort of the fights that goes on between the two of them. The winter court is ruled by Queen Mab. Her character comes from Shakespeare. He mentioned Mab in Romeo and Juliet, but the name actually derived from Celtic and Welsh mythology. There was a fairy that was the queen of the fairies, and that was Queen Mab. Her character in our festival is very strong. She is cold sometimes because she's the queen of winter, but her court really loves her and they would do anything for her, not just because she's scary. Next we have the summer court, which is ruled by King Oberon and Queen Titania, obviously from Midsummer Night's Dream, but Shakespeare got some of his Midsummer Night's Dream characters from different places, and Oberon actually comes from German mythology. Now, in our festival, King Oberon has recently gone missing due to maybe making Queen Mab a little angry, and so Queen Titania is looking for him, and she's doing her best to rule over the summer court, but she has a lot of very kind of flippant fairies that she's working with, and Queen Titania is a very sweet-seeming character, but she has been known to take people and things and people that she wants. She'll just take what she wants, and you might never see it again. Next, the other two courts that haven't really been seen that much are the spring and fall court. The spring court we are going to actually introduce this year. You will see some of the spring court in our digital fair that I hope you will tune into. The spring court is ruled by King Alberic, who is a young-looking kid, even though he's actually very old. Alberic comes from German mythology, and that's where the name Oberon came from originally, so I decided to name it for our spring ruler. Alberic is interested in new things, in technology, in fun things, and may seem like a brat. We'll see. But he is actually the ruler of the spring court. Next we have the fall court, which hasn't really come into play much yet, but we have King Finnvara and Queen Una. Now those are names that come from a lot of folklore as the King and Queen of Fairy. They are in November Eve, obviously the fall season fairies. So they are the rulers of the fall court. We've had a couple fall fairies come in every once in a while, but they haven't been around much, and they've basically loved harvest and food and drink and all the things that make up the fall. So you will see them eventually coming into play at our festival. So let's talk a little bit more about the courts. The summer court, we have a lot of different characters. We mentioned King Oberon and Queen Titania. King Oberon, we didn't really talk about too much. He has shown that he loves his queen very much, but he also has a propensity for mermaids, and he sings songs to them. We might get into that someday later. We have Moth, who is our sort of town crier. Moth announces everything and flits about as a moth would, runs all over, gets very excited about things. We have Cobweb, who is our older advisor sort of fairy who helped raise Oberon, knows a lot of things, but is also hard of hearing and forgetful, might not be able to tell you all the information that you want to know, or might purposely not tell you all the information you want to know. Down here on the bottom left here, the first person there with the mug in her hand is Mustard Seed, a very vibrant character at our festival. Mustard Seed loves drinking. She's the advisor to Queen Titania. She tells stories, but tends to be a little bit drunk. We have Puck, which I already talked about, and where Puck's character came from. All of those characters come from Midsummer Night's Dream, their names, but I've changed them to make a little bit more sense at our fair and sort of grow into their own thing. I mentioned before the workaround for Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell's original name was actually Tipsy before the stories were published the way that they are. So our Tinkerbell type character that is going to be introduced at our digital fair this year is Tipsy. She's an adorable little fairy, and I hope that all of you will enjoy meeting her and talking to her. Next, we have the Winter Court. The Winter Court is, as we said, ruled by Queen Mab. She is a very kind of scary queen sometimes, but also really generous to her different fairies and knows what's going on most of the time, more so than some of the other fairy creatures. I tried to take a lot of the other fairies from Scandinavian, Swedish, Norwegian folklore, places where it's colder. It makes more sense to have fairies in the Winter Court from colder mythologies. We have Jack Frost, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of, and Jack Frost pictured over on the right here with the white hair. Jack Frost likes to play pranks on everyone, throw snow, and is generally a lot of fun at the fair. We have a new character, Felix, who I mentioned was a Nessie, who's coming in and will be also joining us on the digital fair to basically work with Jack Frost and do a lot of fun things. Next, we have these original characters that I created. Aster is the royal advisor to Queen Mab. He's in the center over on the right, and Mab likes to sort of use him as I don't want to say her whipping boy, but she yells at him quite a lot to try to get different things done. He is the self-proclaimed authority on all things human and mortal, and he knows a lot about different courts. We also have Lumi and Ivy, who might be easily mixed up, but they're actually a little bit different, or a lot bit different. Lumi is a fairy who wants to be the royal advisor to Queen Mab and wants to know everything about the courts and tries to suck up to Queen Mab all the time, but it doesn't tend to work out. Lumi also is very good at dancing and organizing important dances for festivals. Ivy, on the other hand, no one listens to and is sort of flighty, but actually ends up knowing a lot of information that people don't really expect her to know. So those are the two courts that we have dealt the most with at our festival so far. What is the Market of the Moons? Well, the Market of the Moons is our fairy festival. It happens once a year in Massachusetts. I'm sure a lot of you have read different folklore and stories where a magical market appears and disappears, shows up at different places. You have the Goblin Market, you have a bunch of things like that. Well, our market appears for 2 weekends in Massachusetts. It disappears, it goes to different lands, it goes to different places, and then it comes back. So it gathers creatures from all over, and they all end up in one place, and then it disappears again. So you have to be careful not to stay too long so that you don't get caught up with the rest of the fairies. Well, over here you can see pictured the Summer and Winter Court. You can see a picture of some of the goings-on at our festival. This year it's going to be a digital festival, which will be a little bit different, but it should still be a lot of fun all the same. Now, I did want to say that I also like to incorporate other characters from different types of literature. Now, I have incorporated in the past Captain Hook and Smee, which you can see pictured over here. That's actually them at our Pirate Festival, which if you can't come to our Market of the Moons Festival or our digital fair, then you should definitely come to our Haunted Hills Pirate Festival, which happens in the fall in Chesterfield. It's around Halloween time. Super fun. But here you can see Smee and Hook. They invaded our Market of the Moons one year, and they caused a lot of mischief. On the other side, we have our Arthurian legend characters. We have Merlin, Tristan, and King Uther. Uther and Merlin, and maybe another one, will be in our digital fair this year. Now, the reason I'm using these specific characters from literature is that they already have fairy mythology in their books. They have a lot of things about fairies It's, you know, obviously Tinkerbell and all the other fairies in Peter Pan, and then Arthurian legend, you have the Lady of the Lake, you have Morgan Le Fay, you have a bunch of other characters that have fairy backstories, so I wanted to kind of include them, and they have done some interesting things at our festival, and they will continue to maybe cause some mischief. Well, this is pretty much where I'm going to end all of my talking. I hope you maybe found it interesting and not too dry. I have here a picture of our jousters, who are really amazing. You can see them at our fair if you are able to make it out to it someday. We are going to be having our digital fair, though, on July 25th and 26th and August 1st and 2nd. You can check it out on our Facebook or massrenfair.com to get the links for that digital fair. If you like the music that you're hearing, that is actually my pirate band, Below the Gaff. You can find us at belowthegaff.com, and we have CDs of some pretty awesome music. You want to check us out? I will finish off by showing some books of some of the folklorists that I talked about, and then I'm probably going to stick around for some Q&A. Thank you for listening. Okay, so there were some books that I wanted to show you guys on the screen. You might notice that I'm wearing a different outfit and everything. I had to record this at different points in time because I have a 2-month-old and he needs things, and it's difficult for me to get everything done at once. So the first person that we talked about was Yeats, and this is a really great book. It is Irish Fairies and Folklore. You can find this pretty much anywhere if you go to any used bookstore, or if you want to get it online, you can find it. Really great book. We talked about Lady Wilde and how awesome she was. You can find her book, Ancient Legends, Mystic Charms, and Superstitions of Ireland. Also, probably find it online. Really great. Has tons of stories. They're really good. Next, I wanted to mention Carol Rose's Encyclopedia, Spirits, Fairies, Leprechauns, and Goblins. A lot of fun stuff in there. Hopefully you can see these, and my camera's picking them up. It's just my laptop camera is not the best in the world. You can see my lovely cat Sith over here. And, of course, we have, this one I didn't mention, Thomas Knightley's The World Guide to Gnomes, Fairies, Elves, and Other Little People. That's a great one. And it's actually, I think, my sister's, so when she sees this, she might be like, hey, wait a second. Give that back. No, I stole it. And, of course, this was the very, very important book by Catherine Briggs that I mentioned that you can find online. This is the only one that you might actually be able to find for less than $100. It's Fairies in Tradition and Literature. Really great book. Now, of course, I mentioned the Frouds. Love Brian and Wendy Froud. This one's probably my favorite. It's just called Fairies. A lot of people have good and bad fairies, but I think this one has better stories in it. And, of course, Brian Froud's artwork is amazing. If you don't have this book and you're into fairies, you need to buy this book. I have some of his artwork on my wall. I have a lot of his stuff. Sorry, cat Sith. Now, Trolls is the book that, when it came out, we went and got to meet them. They signed our books, which was super nice of them. And there's some amazing artwork in this. You get a chance to look at Trolls. It looks very dark crystal-y. A very, very cool family. There's some of the puppets in here too that they make. Brian and Wendy both make the puppets, but also, well, Brian tends to draw them. Wendy and their son, Toby, who is actually the baby in the labyrinth, how weird is that, makes the puppets, and they now make the puppets for the new Dark Crystal that came out on Netflix. Well, this has been my long conversation about fairies and folklore in the Massachusetts Renaissance Fair. I hope that many of you will be able to see our digital fair, and I hope that maybe some of you will come to the fair and stop by and say hello to me or any of the other fairies. We would love to meet you. Thank you for listening. I hope this wasn't too boring. I'm gonna try to stay after for some Q&A if there's some time. Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Hey, this is Nat. I'm really excited to be a part of WebCon this weekend. You'll be able to find my store link through my WebCon Discord channel, and I'll also be there to answer any questions you may have or just to hang out. You can find my shop link at pk4n.storeenvy.com. I have a variety of different prints for sale this weekend, including my 4x6 inch mini prints, which are normally convention exclusive, so you wouldn't normally be able to buy these online. These are multi-fandom with a lot of variety, so if you're interested, check them out in my shop. All of my other prints have a lot of variety as well, though mostly horror, sci-fi, and cartoons. My smaller prints are $10 each, or 2 for $15, and come in either 8.5 by 11 or A4 size depending on the print. My large prints are all 11 by 17 inches. They're $15 each, or 2 for $25. I have a few different charm designs in my shop. These are all clear acrylic except for the Futurama charms, which are printed on frosted lime green acrylic. The Devilman and My Hero Academia charms are double-sided, and the rest are all single-sided. The Devilman charms have the 80s version of Rio and Akira on one side, and their versions from Devilman Crybaby on the other side. For more photos, make sure that you check out that listing. The My Hero Academia charms just have a different expression on the other side. You should be able to buy any one of these charms individually or at a discount if you buy them in pairs or sets. I also have 2 enamel pins up for sale. The Anatomical Model pin is a soft enamel and about 2.5 inches, and the Space Gay UFO pin is hard enamel and about 1 inch. And here are the sticker sheets I have up for sale. The Extraterrestrial Horrors and Slasher Movie sheets are both about 5 by 7.5 inches and cost $8, while the UFO sheet is a little bit smaller. All of these are durable waterproof vinyl stickers, so they should be great on stuff like water bottles. Next up are some of the sticker sheets I have. There are more on my online store. This isn't all of them. These are priced per set, and they range from about $3 to $5 per set. These are also printed on waterproof vinyl and are hand cut. In addition to sticker sets, I also have individual stickers from series like Gundam and Rick and Morty that aren't pictured here. I also have some sticker sets and individual stickers that are original art, like the anatomical organs and songbird stickers that are up top here. And lastly, in honor of WebCon, I'm going to be taking chibi commissions at my con rate during the convention. These are $25 for a single character or $40 for 2 characters or a couple. These chibis will be in the semi-lineless kind of blocky style that all of these examples are in. DM me or message me on Discord to order. And that's about it. Stop by my Discord channel to chat if you want, and let me know if you have any questions. You can also follow my social media, which are up on the screen, pk4n_ on Twitter, or pk.4n on Instagram. And thanks for checking out my shop. I hope you have a great time at WebCon.
Hello, this is Lydia from Okika Papercraft. I'm making the videos for WebCon 2020 in order to showcase my merch. And everything here is available for purchase, so if you want any of this, just DM me on Discord or take a look at my Etsy where I have all of these listed. And here we go. Alright, so listen to me blather on about paper. I'm a modular origamist and a quiller, and as you can see here, I have examples of those two pieces. Modular origami, as you can see with Bulbasaur here, is where you take individual pieces of paper and lock them together to build a larger piece. In my case, I practice 3D origami or golden venture folding. And then here we have something called quilling. Quilling is where you take strips of paper and coil it into different shapes. And I personally glue those shapes down onto paper, but you don't have to. So you can see the different patterns evident in my work. You can see Nezuko's pattern that she always has on her kimono. But I have more merch than this, I promise. So I'm going to go through it. Here are the Pokemon sections. I have all of the paper Pokemon I've been blathering on about in the chat. I have Pokeballs, and if you notice, they sit really nice in your hand. Good cosplay prop. Pretty sturdy. Please ignore the following Pokeballs. And then I also have quilled wall hangings. These are inspired by Sailor Moon and are based off of the color schemes of the Sailor Soldiers. I have Mars right here, Moon's right underneath. And as you can see by the fact that I have 5 of them, I have all of the inners. Outers can be available for request. I do have the stuff that I need to make these. And then I have headbands in pretty much every color you can imagine. This one is actually another Sailor Moon one. It's Sailor Venus's one. And I can make the ones for the other Sailor Soldiers if needed. And if you want the color schemes of any other fan character, I can do that as well. And then I just have some that aren't fan art, like this giant flower vase. I like it just because like you look inside of it and it's like all hypnotic and stuff, right? And then I also have butterfly magnets. These actually go on your refrigerator. They're a pretty sturdy magnet. Hold up a bunch of paper, which is good because that's what magnets are supposed to do. Alright, and here's another vase that you can get hypnotized by. Look down into the spiral. Alright. And then here's where the legions begin. I call them legions just because I have like so many of these. But in here, this is Legion, and Legion is snowflakes. I make Christmas ornaments covered in glitter. It's never too early for Christmas. Mainly because it's never too early for glitter. Then I have this thing. I don't actually know what this thing is. You may have seen it in my listings as cool looking thing, or a Christmas tree topper, or a centerpiece, or something. But I just made it and think it looks cool, so that's all I need. And then here are the candy bowls. They are mainly in Demon Slayer colors. So as you can see here, I've taken the color scheme of the character. This one's Nezuko. You can see from her kimono to her bamboo muzzle to her hair, Howdy, Obi. And I have Shinobu, I've got Rengoku, Zenitsu. I have Madoka over here. Nice twist on her. I also have bears. I normally make these for nurseries, but people just like bears, so I kept making bears. Oh, here are some cards that I make. They're quite mean, so if you have a friend that's like that, so it's like if you're the type of person that no one likes, everyone has a person that card is good for. And then the phone cases. I figured out how to make phone cases out of a clear case and paper. These also have some shininess to them too. And then the last thing I'm going to show you guys is bookmarks. Now, these bookmarks are irregularly shaped. That's because they go on the corner of the page. Alright, so that's all the merch that I have ready for sale. and I am available for commission if you do not see something that you want here. But here's the examples of my work, and I hope you guys like it. All right, bye-bye.
Please put on your camera and microphone, or at least interact in the chat.
If you want to roast the roastee, put up a thumbs up, and I can give me your question, and I can answer it for you.
So every question towards me, Stephen will answer first, and then I will answer, and we'll
If you're not
compare.
comfortable answering a question, send it to me. I'll just say it because why not?
Oh man. And also feel free to actually get snacks and be comfortable.
Yeah.
And drink some tea with us. I usually have a fancy teacup, but where I'm being quarantined, I do not. So I have a Princess Peach mug I got from New York in the Nintendo store, which was amazing, and I'll recommend it if you like Nintendo to go there. I want to go there now that Animal Crossing has been out because I would love to see the store.
Little known fact, she can't go there anymore because she touched too many toys. They told her to stop. She's
Why
like,
are you putting my life out on there for?
like, I want this one. They go, madam, don't do this. And then she turned it to full on Karen mode.
Yep. Pretty accurate. Do 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 do. Do, 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 do. How's everyone's con experience been going? Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you, Amanda. That's so nice. Oh, you want to do another one? That's awesome. Okay, it's very stressful on our end because I don't know. I like people having fun, and so I was really hoping people would have fun. Also, I don't know what I would do mentally if people told me it sucked after not sleeping for weeks. So oh man, it's okay. Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah.
Everything about me though, everyone else is amazing. Oh man. So what was everyone's favorite part about the con so far?
I like that too. Dora the Explorer.
I'm sorry. This is why I was muted and every panel was in, because I actually laugh hysterically and I would have been very distracting.
Now,
Yeah. Like I'm literally like hollering at most of the stuff this weekend. Like you guys are so funny.
that's my
Oh,
favorite.
the magical girl panel. Thank you. Thank you. That was so awesome. I know Juliana did a really good job. Do you know what character I am? No? Can you guess? Oh man. Okay, so I guess you can start the panel, but I don't know how it would go anyway because it's
Once
not
before-
legit. But anyway.
I never watched Dora the Explorer, and she goes, maybe because I have younger brothers, where she'd go, "What was your favorite part?" And she go blank, and she goes, "That's my favorite part too." I was like, my favorite part was like when I ate a peanut butter jelly sandwich and watched your show. That's like,
Well, oh yes, I can.
all right.
All right, all right, all right. So my outfit actually is. Have you ever seen? Well, people say the name differently. Some people say Monica Magica. Some people say Madoka Magica. But there is a character called Mommy. In episode 3, this is a spoiler, but I feel like everyone knows now because it's a meme. Her head gets bitten off by a monster called Charlotte, and so I have her full outfit, and I have.
Bro,
I brought my props. I have
dude,
this. I have.
I haven't watched it yet.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Y'all hate me. I've got QB.
I was adding more to my roast list.
Use because her magical power is ribbon based. And so everywhere I went, all I kept hearing was head jokes. So I just got this hoodie together from a fan art. I wish I knew the artist, but it was shared around so much times I couldn't figure out who made it originally. And I just have Charlotte biting off my head because I gave up at that point. Okay, so let's see. So I can quickly introduce myself, and then the point of this panel is for you guys to ask any questions you want to ask me or Steven or Jessica. Her beautiful face is on camera now.
I thought this was a roast of you, not a roast.
And you can
of somebody
and
else.
you can also roast me because it's spill the tea. So yeah, you can roast me too. That's also okay. Whatever people want to make of this hour of
Anybody wants to
time.
roast me too, I'm perfectly fine by it because I can take the hits.
Yeah, it's a roast session.
But my head and hips. That's what it's about. Anybody know that bit from John Mulaney?
Oh man,
Great.
I love it. Okay, so I'll start. So my cosplay name is Crystal Heart. That's my name on Discord. But my real name is, can't tell you, I'm a magical girl. Just kidding, it's Brianna. It's on the website.
You said your full government name.
Oh yeah, that's true. I'm sorry, okay? I put my full name because there's a lot of Briannas in this world, and I always get mixed up with other Briannas. So I put my full name. So don't steal my identity, y'all. But
Alright,
anyway.
well, like 10,000 Burger King burgers coming to your house right now.
Oh man. Okay, so my name is Brianna. Let's see. So besides doing webcon, I also run a charity group called Heroes for Hire New England. And so actually some of the con guests are also part of that. So you might have heard it mentioned around. There's a channel in the Discord as well about it too. Steven helps run it with me. That's why he wants to roast me because we've worked with each other for at least 2 years now. Like 2 years, yeah. It's quite some time. But basically what we do for Heroes for New England is we dress up as characters. Like if you went to Matches' panel and he was Batman, he is one of the members in the group as well. And so we dress up as superheroes, princesses, Star Wars characters, PJ Masks, Power Rangers, you name it. We have a lot.
Anymore.
Yeah. We always need
Yeah.
more.
I can't because
Oh, you can't?
it's not under my my resume anymore because
Oh.
she made me shave this lovely beard to become a 6-year-old boy.
Dude, okay, I knew you were gonna mention that in this roast session. I knew you were still mad about that. Okay, guys, this is the tea. This is the tea part. Okay, so I don't know if you guys know what PJ Masks is, but it's a very popular show for children, especially 6 years and under. And so we have been getting a lot of PJ Masks requests. And so I sat there out of my own time and I made a Catboy in an Owlette outfit. And I made it to fit Steven because he said he would be Catboy. Right, everyone? Okay. Well, Catboy is a boy, and this man didn't think about it in advance how he had to shave his beard. And so when we finally got a booking for a large charity ball with Catboy, he was like, wait, I have to shave? I'm like, yes, you're supposed to pretend to be a 6-year-old boy. Like, you can't have a full beard. And then he was so hurt that he had to shave. But he did it anyway.
You know what? You want to hear the fun fact? I told my fiance, I was like, hey, I'm gonna shave my beard for a event. She goes, what? What are you doing? Why are you gonna shave? I go, it's for the role. Don't blame me. Blame Brianna. And suddenly she's like, freaking hate Brianna now for making you shave that beard. And I have the photo to prove that like I was Catboy. Hold on.
Oh boy, I'm pulling up the photos on my laptop too.
You see my phone.
Because I need proof of you without a beard. That's mostly why. But so basically, he was a good sport and he shaved, and the kids were really happy. And now we get flooded with PJ Masks requests.
A lot of kids were scared.
That's your perception of the situation. But anyway, we've been getting a lot of PJ Masks requests, especially during and so I have his costume here, but he doesn't want to wear it. So I've been solo as Owlette trying to find someone to be Catboy. But he mostly does Thor, so that's why he loves his beard and he's very protective of his beard.
The missus likes the beard, so I gotta keep it.
Don't put the misses in this. You like the beard. Let's be real.
I like the beard. I have a picture of Catboy.
Okay, I have one photo I found, and then I'll have to pull up the others. Do y'all see this? Can you see in the corner this Catboy? Doesn't he look dashing?
I don't think that's at all. I look terrifying.
No, you don't. Come on, it's so cute. Let me see if anyone said anything in the comments. This is the best. See, you are amazing. Look at that. I'm gonna count how many times the internet says you look like a good Catboy, and then I'm gonna put it on an Excel sheet, do some data analysis, and show that it's statistically significant that you are a great Catboy.
I'm keeping the beard and just being like, why do you got a beard, Catboy? I'm Catman now. This quarantine has given me a beard and zapped me until 15 years into the future.
Look at that. Someone's cat is yelling at the computer because they thought you were a fellow feline. So you should accept your role as Catboy.
Max is just disgusted right now that he heard of He's in his little box now. He's like, Dad, how'd you do that?
Okay, Steven, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. People don't know who I am now. I am Steven. I am the guy that spams the chats about wrestling and about some other stuff. I work with Heroes for Hire with Brianna, Crystal Hearts.
You never said my name right this entire weekend, by the way. You always say Crystal Hearts. It's Crystal Heart, okay, bro? Sorry. You always say Crystal. No, not Kristoff, like in Frozen. You always say Crystal Hearts. I am one person. I only have one heart.
Crystal Hearts. Well, I'm a nerdy boy from Boston. What else should I say about myself? I like long walks on the beach, get chicken fingers to my friends. I recently just ordered, if anybody hasn't had one yet, I ordered Shake Shack, and Shake Shack is the best. I'm not sponsored. I like to
You wish you were.
when the Grubhub guy comes to my door and just goes, "Here you go, sir." I go, "Ah," I like to put a little dollar in his coat pocket. And he goes, "Thank you." Say about myself. I live in
I'm
Boston.
really crying.
People don't know where Boston is. It's the ones that say park the car and have a yard. The places where Tom Brady is from. If people know Tom Brady, right? I can't see the chat. I got two.
I'm dying in the comment that we need to roast you instead of me.
Oh, okay. You can roast me. if you want.
Reverse Uno card.
I'm not. The funny thing about me, I'm not gonna fight back and be like, like that episode of Family Guy where the people
Oh, man, I'm
roasted
crying.
Peter and then they turned it around and he started roasting everybody else, or the Michael Scott roast.
Jessica, introduce yourself. Jessica's super important. Okay, Steven, don't roast her. Did you guys love the way that the website and overlays look? Let's all clap for Jessica because she's been streaming and doing a lot of things for the con. The great Oz behind the curtain. Let's go, y'all. Yay! Thank you, thank you. I don't know. What is Tompa Bay? Is that, what is that?
For those who don't know, Tom Brady has left our fine state of New England and went all the way to Florida. Yeah, people don't know.
Quite saddening.
During a freaking quarantine, he left the state and went all the way to Florida.
Wait, let's not roast Tom Brady during this 1 hour gap we have. Go back to roasting Steven.
Okay, roast me at all. Say something about my hair.
You're a terrible security guard.
Why?
Burt Macklin, FBI.
That's what I based my my security guard off. Burt Macklin, son of a bitch.